We are here now with Black Women in Psychology, the Challenges and Perspectives. And this panel is chaired by Dr. Beverly Greene, who received her PhD in psych from New York University, and who was a member of that institution's first group of Martin Luther King's scholars. She received her MA and PhD in clinical psychology from the Derner Institute of Advanced Psychological Studies at Adelphi University. She is professor of psychology at St. John's University in Jamaica, New York, and a practical clinical psychologist in independent practice. A fellow at 7 divisions of the American Psychological Association and the Academy of Clinical Psychology. She holds the diplomate in clinical psychology from the American Board of Professional Psychology. After a decade of work in public mental health, primarily as director of inpatient child and adolescent psychiatry at Kings County Hospital in Brooklyn, and UMDMJ in Newark, Dr. Greene joined the faculty of St. John's University. Dr. Greene serves on the editorial and advisory boards of numerous scholarly journals and has published nearly 90 publications, including 7 books. I want to go to the couch right now. She was a founding co-editor of the APA Society for Psychological Study of Lesbian, Gay, and Bisexual Issues book series, Psychological Perspectives on Lesbian, Gay, and Bisexual Issues, and is the sole editor of series volume 3, Ethnic and Cultural Diversity Among Lesbians and Gay Men. Let us welcome Dr. Greene.
Good afternoon. Our panel would like to once again thank the conference organizers for this wonderful opportunity to talk about the challenges, but also to celebrate the triumphs of Black women in the Academy. I'm honored to present the members of this panel as representatives of the discipline of psychology, which has a dubious relationship with Black folk altogether, and where we constitute less than perhaps 2 to 4% of the profession, with even less representation on the faculties of our universities. My undergraduate students always say they've never had a Black teacher or instructor, reiterating what Vicki Mays and Robert Guthrie observed, that in American psychology, even the rat was white and male. It was. Perhaps psychology's most significant failing as a social science has been its deliberate obliviousness to its subjective and not objective cultural positioning, where quantitative analysis has traditionally been the gold standard that has been selectively used and abused to impose the dominant cultural narrative as the norm, and to pathologize those whose narratives are not the norm or that make the privileged elite uncomfortable. As Jeremiah Wright reminded us, that those whose American narratives contain anger or are not the typical American narrative are not welcome. Inez Prosser received the first PhD in clinical psychology in 1933. And most people don't know that the doll study made famous by Dr. Kenneth Clark in the Brown versus Board of Education lawsuit was actually Mamie Phipps Clark's dissertation. In What Ought Psychology Do? Vicki Mays observes that depression, anxiety, substance abuse, domestic violence, eating disorders, and other maladies that plague Black women in disproportionate numbers may be understood as desperate attempts to cope with pathological environments and treatment, and not inherent deficiencies of individuals. We need to distinguish between managing angry Black women and righteous anger of Black women that has not been appropriately validated. While behavioral paradigms and schedules of reinforcement may be given a polite nod, pathology is still viewed as a defect of the person rather than something elicited by pathological context. The majority of those who deliver psychological services to Black people are not Black psychologists. They won't be Black psychologists. Therefore, allies and training others to value our psyches is important. The members of this panel are all members of the Academy as writers, teachers, and trainers of those who will conduct the research and deliver psychological services to our people. services that we hope are informed by our awareness of the psychological challenges that are unique to people who belong to marginalized groups. Our work collectively represents nearly 200 publications and has sought to challenge the pervasive distortions about who we and our families are, what we are not, and what we are capable of, as well as to develop more culturally informed paradigms about how to address the psychological ills of clients as members of diverse groups. We are also, however, practitioners whose research has been inspired and informed by our work in the real world outside of the academy with clients. Nancy and Fran and I have spent many years working in the public and private mental health sector before becoming members of the academy, and that has clearly informed our expectations and strategies for dealing with the academy's attempts to recapitulate our subordinate status. We had been prepared by our parents to clearly understand that we were going to face obstacles that were a function of racism, that should not diminish our ambition, but that we needed to be realistic about confronting those obstacles and developing strategies for addressing them. It is fair to say, however, that by the time we got to the academy, we were already uppity, insisting on advanced standing, no longer trainable in certain ways, and perhaps because for the three of us, we had no burning desire to be a part of the academy in the first place and some career experience behind us, we may have been emboldened to ask questions and ask for things that otherwise we may not have done. I think our sense may have been this was not at the top of the list of the things that I want to do or the only thing I can do, and you have to make it somewhat worth my while and recognize my previous experience, uppity. As practitioners who treat Black women, we have all witnessed firsthand the destructive impact and the often corrosive effects of many of the challenges raised at this meeting on the psyche of Black women and have actively participated in the efforts to heal those wounds and to prevent their occurrence or reoccurrence. I'm going to briefly introduce the members of our panel. Our first speaker is Dr. Frances Keith Trotman. Dr. Trotman received her bachelor's and master's degree from City College of City University of New York as a Regent Scholar, and her master's and doctorate in counseling psychology from Teachers College, Columbia University, as a Ford Foundation Fellow and National Scholars Fellow, and was among the first group of African American graduates of that program. She is currently a professor and chair of the Department of Psychological Counseling at Monmouth University, where she is the first and remains the only Black faculty member with tenure who is a full professor. Dr. Trotman has been in private practice for over 30 years. She was also the founder and director of Contemporary Counseling and Psychotherapy Institute in Teaneck and Weehawken, New Jersey, directing and supervising 13 offices and more than 30 psychotherapists. Prior to that, she served as chief psychologist for a community mental health center, a teacher, social worker, and community organizer. She has been president of the New Jersey Association of Black Psychologists and the Bergen County Association of Licensed Psychologists. In honor of her outstanding and unusual contributions to psychology, she is a fellow of the American Psychological Association, an honor reserved for less than 4% of the association's 150,000 members. She chaired the Presidential Task Force on Enhancing Diversity in APA and the Minority Issues Committee of those divisions as well. She's been a reviewer and a consulting editor for several professional journals for the National Institute of Mental Health and has written over 30 publications in the area of counseling and psychotherapy, group psychotherapy, resilience, multicultural counseling, grandmothering, and aging, including her book with Dr. Claire Brody, Psychotherapy and Counseling with Older Women, Cross-Cultural, Family, and End-of-Life Issues. She is also co-author of a book with Dr. Eric Morales, promoting national and international presentations, promoting academic resilience in multicultural America, and has given over 65 national and international presentations as an invited speaker. Fran and I are also co-authors of a book in progress, Tales from the Academic Plantation, Black Women Challenge Oppression in the Academy. Fran is the first African American woman psychologist licensed in the state of New Jersey. She's the first African American guidance counselor in the Teaneck, New Jersey school system. She was the first African American and first woman president of the Bergen County Association of Licensed Psychologists and the first African American woman to serve on the executive board of the New Jersey Psychological Association. She was also the first woman to serve as the elected president of the New Jersey Association of Black Psychologists. And in 1995, after a successful career in independent practice, she joined the faculty of Monmouth University, where she assumed the directorship of the Graduate Psychological Counseling Program, Under Fran's leadership, that program has grown from 5 students to a thriving department of over 200 students and 3 programs that she chairs. Our second speaker is Dr. Shalonda Kelly. She is a newly tenured associate professor at the Graduate School of Applied and Professional Psychology here at Rutgers. She received her bachelor's degree from Pomona College and a dual doctorate in urban studies and child and family clinical psychology from Michigan State University. Dr. Kelly's programmatic research thrust is to understand racial and cultural perspectives and related behaviors and to examine their association with couple functioning, particularly with regard to African American couples. She has received NIH and Rutgers University funding to study racial and cultural factors in clinic-referred and university populations. Dr. Kelly also publishes clinically oriented manuscripts to educate therapists on how to address race, ethnicity, and culture in treatment. She conducts workshops and consults with organizations working with African Americans, people of color, couples, children, and families, and is a licensed psychologist who conducts and supervises couple and family therapy from a cognitive behavioral and systems orientation. Dr. Nancy Boyd Franklin received her bachelor's degree from Swarthmore College in Pennsylvania and her master's and doctorate in clinical psychology from Teachers College of Columbia University. She completed additional studies in systems family therapy under the mentorship of Salvador Minuchin. She is a practicing African American family therapist and tenured full professor at Rutgers University. Nancy is also the author of the groundbreaking text, Black Families in Therapy, a Multi-Systems Approach, now in its 2nd edition. She is also editor of Children, Families, and HIV/AIDS, Reaching Out in Family Therapy, Home-Based School and Community Interventions, Boys to Men, Raising Our African American Teenage Sons, and work in progress includes Therapy in the Real World, Intervention Strategies for Clinicians. An internationally recognized lecturer and author, Nancy has written numerous articles on issues such as multicultural treatment approaches, cultural competency, ethnicity and family therapy, the treatment of African American families, extended family issues, spirituality and religion, home-based family therapy, group therapy for Black women, HIV and AIDS, parent and family support groups, community empowerment, and the multi-systems model. Nancy's received numerous awards from the professional and community-based organizations that have included an honorary doctorate from the Phillips Graduate Institute in 2006, the Ernest McMahon Award from Rutgers University in 2005 for the development of creative multi-level community intervention, and the Solomon Carter Fuller Award from the American Psychiatric Association in 2005 for outstanding contributions to the field through scholarship and programs related to the treatment of African Americans. In 2003, she received the Ethnic and Racial Diversity Award from the National Council of Schools of Professional Psychology, and has been also acknowledged in 2001 with the Shirley and Charles Thomas Award from Division 45 of the American Psychological Association. Our first speaker will be Dr. Fran Schwaber.